The film begins with a photograph in the paper about the disappearance of a girl named Lydia, who disappeared at the age of 14, a few years after she was a few years older. Lydia is standing in front of the supermarket. Buy some 9mm bullets for my boyfriend. Is unit and his state. Lydia quickly put the bag in immediately and get in the car, waiting outside. As soon as you get in the car, one of the members of the state complaining about the bullet, Johnard said no. When it arrived, Johnard and Lydia arguing about the way people in your talk to you. Very rude. After talking reassure Lydia. He said, tell me what they're doing and mention the amount. They've hidden it in a family house. Try to pretend it's a normal house and it's not where the group's money is hidden. He manipulated Lydia by telling you that you need to prove yourself so that I can trust you. Johnard took Lydia with him into the house. Give her some medicine to keep her calm. Put a gun in the back. Lydia suddenly heard gunfire from inside the house. As we get closer, Lydia shocked. When you see a dead man lying on the ground and a woman with two hands tied behind is being questioned by Unit about the money she stole. When she tried to escape, Unit slapped her back in the chair. That moment made Lydia soft. And please don't hurt that woman anymore. He thinks that this is the best time for Lydia to prove herself. John, give me your gun and give me the order to shoot. With tears streaming down my face, Lydia hesitates, but Yonah keeps pushing her that every bullet will be traced back to you. When you refuse to do that, John pointed a gun at her and threatened her. But he's suddenly distracted. The hostage tried to escape. Lydia accidentally hit him. Lydia rushed out of the house to avoid their accomplices seeing and taking revenge. Then the movie moves on to a conversation where John used to be an alcoholic, has now become sober, is celebrating my birthday. Share your experience of going to prison and substance abuse to He talked about losing a lot of in the dark days. My evening, including her daughter who went missing years ago. After the conversation, John and his friend Kobe go to their own house. While Kobe wishes his friend a happy birthday, John seems sadder than usual. Kobe suggested they go for coffee so that John can relax a little bit. But you refuse. Finished chatting. John went home where he worked as a tattooist for a living. John spent the afternoon working to get things done. We celebrated our birthday in the evening and then sitting alone eating alone. He suddenly heard the phone ring. Answer the phone. John was surprised. I heard my daughter's voice on the other side. He calmed down and asked Lita where she'd been all this time. Avoid answering directly. Lita told me that you need some quick money to disappear before the people who are chasing you catch you. John lied about having money to meet Lita. After the location is John quickly left the house and drive to the appointed place to meet. After coming to wait a while, John saw his daughter now grown up and get you in the car. When you get in the car, John she was drunk and sad. When I see you doing this, he told you to rest. He saw the bottle of wine in his pocket with a worried expression on his face. I will hide where John carried his daughter to bed and start 6 searches in her pocket. He was shocked to discover a gun loaded. The next day Lydia felt better. And I'm working for a client to comment on his artwork. When there are only 2, Lydia told him she couldn't stay long. For Johnard's accomplices, the person you accidentally killed will come looking when she talked about him lying to her about the Kia money. John begged her to stay with him for a week until you settle down. Make sure you have money for her. At that time, it's remote, so no one will know. Or if anyone dares to come close, punch the buffalo. Then Lydia got a message from Johnard's friend threatening they will find you. The fear drives you crazy, and she hid herself in the bathroom. John is suspicious of what you were doing. A few minutes later, John realized that she had taken a drug. Because you're acting so weird, you know, when you like searched, a rock star. He looked in and saw a small plastic You bag. Hid the drugs and take it away. It feels like I've just stepped into something that you can't control. John calls Chokobi and tells about his daughter. Mention of Lita use my too. And trouble is chasing you. She advised her friend to take Lita to but John has his doubts about giving you to them after having trouble after many years. That night when John sat by his window, Lydia realized a black SUV was driving towards them. Realize that you have been discovered. While you hide and look inside, John talks directly to be named Kia. It's closed at night. No tattoos. They're talking about Lydia. John turned them down and told them to come back in the morning. 3 people started shooting at the house. You try to break in. John stabbed a guy in the arm when he just reached out for a second, even though he warned them one last time. But the Kia name doesn't stop. Still don't know that. I'm dealing with a boss who's out of jail. Eventually drove their car directly into him. Before they do anything else, marry me. I came with a gun in my hand. 3 gang members threatened to shoot if they don't leave. When you feel safe, Lita and John jumped outside and saw Kobe, who insisted they have to wait for the police to know what to do. John quickly got into the car I feel guilty for ignoring my daughter for years. Make this happen. After driving for a few hours, John started asking his daughter, "What do these men want from you?" But Lita was beat down. She started telling him about how she met John. Explain how you took care of her by providing you with a place to stay. It is also a place to hide money. One day she invited some friends to a party. There is no eye control, and they have a little bit of sympathy where all the money is hidden. Lydia told me he caught you. Shoot a woman, but you refused to make him angry. And in the meantime, she accidentally gave him one a few days ago. A motel nearby. John and Lita rent a room to spend the night. Feeling stifled, wanting to go out for a breath of air, Lydia went down to the reception room where she sees a cute guy working. Shocked when you see yourself on the news. The guy also revealed, "I always worked in the police department." John gets a call from his daughter. "Quickly get down, and don't turn on the lights if you don't want to be exposed." The police waited here an hour ago. Give them the key to another room. Not detected. While looking through the window, they surprised when they heard gunfire from the room they'd rented, and saw two police officers down. Realized that there is only self-reliance. John stole a car. While Lita watches, "I saw a tattooed guy looking and shoot the police." John succeeded in starting the car with their skillful driving skills to help them escape. John realized right away that they weren't the right kind. They hired mercenaries the next morning. John called a disciple who was in prison to get help. And while driving to another place, then Lita shows off with Daddy Shaw, Spanish as a native. He went to the bar to find some old friends, but I didn't get any news. I see my father confused. Lydia suggested that you go home. You will try to cross the border. He refused right away. Will not lose you again. If you can't do this, you'll find another way. But she had the address paper for the person he was looking out before. You used your talkative skills to get information from the Kia people. Then the father and son walked over. The address was written and met the preacher. After a short conversation, and John reminded the preacher that he owed himself. The preacher agreed and asked him to stay and see the rest of the people. Then Lydia had a conversation with the preacher, who told you that life is cruel. She has lived with her mother since what your father went through, especially when involved in illegal activities. Then she went back to Dad, and he apologized to her for his alcoholic lifestyle. Make you helpless. I've been in trouble all this time. The next morning, John was shocked by his preacher. Wake up the man who's pointing a gun at your head. After you give them to your husband. The preacher told John that he would hand over the meat to the police because the reward is it can't be ignored. Use the element of surprise. John pulled the gun from the woman's hand, stealing an old motorcycle from a preacher, angry for wasting years in prison for that name. Even though they escaped, but the preacher's men are still chasing him. They're driving and shooting, of course. It was his turn to turn the car around and give him a colored from the hunted to the hunter. The other name, he was run over by a truck out of fear. After making sure you're safe, both drove to a nearby motel. Change your appearance a little so that people don't recognize when you're alone. Lita started to panic after seeing some messages, text on her phone, from the people trying to kill you. Then John told his daughter that he had to run some errands. Get out the motel to meet an old friend at a nearby prison. When I met my cellmate, Ara, who runs John's prison, asked him who was hunting his daughter and their companions. Ara revealed they're all members of a criminal family. Big Johnny has stolen from the crime family and hide their money in the house. Meanwhile, Lydia gets a call from Kumi, who told her she needed to go to a public because place. He doesn't. You and John are not safe. Listen to your father's Lydia friend to the cinema and got an anonymous phone call. I was shocked to hear Yonat on the other end of the line reveal that you're still alive and standing right behind. Lydia tried to run away but was blocked and kidnapped by Yonat's accomplices. After talking to my friend, John left prison. I saw a missed call from my daughter. When he called back and couldn't get in touch with her, John called Kobe, who's being held hostage by Johnard and his men. Pick up the phone. Johnard reveals what will happen and then kill Kobe. While Johnard heard from his side wire end, I fear for my daughter's life. John came up with a plan to save his daughter. He told Johnny that he knew his entire family and the money he stole. Lydia told me about that house. Tell me all the information about and your uncle Suez El Pacino. You know. Fear of the threat. Johnard agreed and made an appointment at a location. Without any hesitation, John returned to the preacher's house and get the weapons you need. Always shoot for the eyes. Upon arrival at the agreed location, John is clever. Secretly placed a bomb under the motorcycle and surrendered. I don't know about this conspiracy. Johnard ordered his men to move John's car, and the car exploded. Killed 2 of Johnard's men and shot the rest of us. Used the explosion to distract John wrestles with this guy in the car and killed the Taysai sitting next to me while trying to escape with her daughter. John was shot once by a gang of assassins. They are guarding the hill. Lydia was quick to drive the car to cover. Realize the tattooist is still chasing. John hid on the side of the car and shoot the killer as soon as he shows up. He also ate one in his chest. I saw my father seriously injured. He asked Lydia for help. Tried to go, but he begged her to stay. He looked at his daughter for the last time. John, sorry for not being a good father. Say goodbye before you die. Meanwhile, Johnard was arrested by police while trying to escape and was put in the same prison that John was in. Give your friend Aurora the freedom to rule. A year later we see Lita in a chat. Tell your story to friends and admit that she's been drinking for a year. She remembered her dead father, someone you believe is watching you, and thank you for saving her life. The movie ends here. If you feel good, please subscribe to the channel to support the review.